right. Hey, what's going on? Welcome along to episode 57 of the Strategy and Conversions podcast. I'm Jamie Michael Joseph, and as always, I'm joined by Mark Tanner. Mark, I guess we
Hello.
have to start off by saying Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you all. Yes, indeed, we
Yeah, that's
do.
it. And,
Yeah,
and I guess, look, we have to say Happy New Year to the listeners and not to each other because we've just been chatting for a good kind of 2 hours before, right? We've
yeah,
had our first catch up of the year, and obviously, as always, we're looking at we're looking at changing that kind of movement going forward, right? Just tweaking those kind of little percentages rather than
yeah.
looking at the big kind of picture and changing things around. It's just always, what can we do just to tweak this? What can we do to tweak that? And yeah, 2 hours later, here we are.
Here we
So
are,
yeah,
indeed. Yeah,
first podcast of the year, and I think it makes sense to kind of jump into just following on really from the last episode that we did. And we looked around the whole kind of goal setting and stuff like that, and setting your goals the right way, your targets, and working towards them. And here we are within, coming up to the end of the first week within January, and this is
yeah.
where most people are going to quit on those goals, right?
That's because yeah. I was going to ask that. Ask the audience, all the listeners, and say how many people have set their New Year's resolutions and is now struggling to keep up with them. Because I can see it's happening all around.
It happens all around, right? I'm going to be honest, man. I think it's happened to me. I think that for me, I didn't have a kind of wild kind of goal with the gym or anything like that. But I did think to myself, okay, look, start getting back into the gym. And like for the past kind of 3-4 months, I was ill, I had a bit of an injury and all this kind of stuff. I didn't do the gym properly. And I was like, right, okay, I'll get back into it. And like I said, I didn't really set any goals, but I'll get back into it. But after I did some weights on one day and I did some weights the next day. Mate, it got to the third day and I couldn't move. Like I was just so sore. I was like, God, this is crazy. And it's like, for anybody else that you've probably felt that as well. And I think that's just I think it's just a good topic, mate. It's a good measuring stick to kind of put onto things. And it's like, we said it
I
in the
think
last episode, that goal setting is that we kind of go all in and then we
yeah. I was
stop.
going to say that.
But what we have to
I
do is just make those kind of changes, right, to become that person that we want
Yeah,
to be.
yeah. I think that's classic on the weight on the weights because I think it's the same as anything because you want to get rid of all the Christmas binging stuff and everything. Right, okay, let's really go for it, and you overdo it, and then you just your body just screams out in agony. So yeah, talking about that whole thing about becoming the person you want to be, that's the first lesson. That start slowly, start in small chunks first because you're going to be, and it's interesting, isn't it? Well, I've seen so many people who started out, they wanted to change their mindset, want to do this, want to do that, or want to lose weight, all the rest of it. And and starting slowly, people just think, oh, but I'm not seeing any results. But results are coming. You might not see them, but they are actually there. When you start, even if you start, and you haven't been walking, for example, and you say, right, okay, for January, I'm just going to go out. I'm going to be walking, I don't know, 5,000 steps a day. It's not massive, but it's quite manageable for people, especially if you've got a dog or something. It's quite manageable for people to do. And instead of going out and saying, right, I'm going to walk 5K, and the first day when they haven't walked anything anywhere for a while, the next day your legs are going to ache, and then if you think, well, I don't know if I can do it today, or I don't know if I can do it this week. Whereas if you're doing a small thing and it just builds it. You will see a difference, but this is the whole point. Is just start slowly. Don't go mad like a bullet in a china shop.
It's exactly what it is, isn't it? And I think this episode and the last episode, we talked a lot around goal setting and fitness and health, and that's come into it. And obviously, health is a big part. We've done episodes on that kind of work health balance and, talking about yourself and everything like that. But from, I guess, taking it back to the business side, I think everyone starts off with business goals and it's usually around kind of making money and all this kind of stuff. But I think that it's a funny one in business is that we look at the bigger pictures, but we don't look at the small steps.
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely.
we don't look like we're saying about becoming that person that we want to be. It's like, well, let's look at doing that now. And it can be hard because it could be a case of, right, okay, maybe, I think you hit the nail on the head with the goal setting one where you said, okay, maybe it's a case of you're someone who is making 20K now a year in your business and you want to make 200. Well, all of a sudden now you go from, making, whatever it is, like say £1,500 a month to making, close to like 15 grand a month or whatever it is, and it's like, it's like, well, where does that jump come in? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
it's not going to come in the first month, so it's going to be difficult. You know, if you
And
don't get that goal, you might feel like
yeah,
you failed, and that's where the issue comes in, right?
that's right. And it's all on an exponential curve. This is a thing a lot of people um, forget to a certain extent, I think. I mean, with the compound interest, we've talked about it so many times. Whereas you start slowly, and that curve, the curve goes up a little bit, but actually starts to steepen the more you do because of the compound effect. So if you're looking to say, okay, let's just say I'm last year my business did, let's say my business did 30K or something. This year I want it to do 300K. It's not impossible, but you aren't going to do it straight away. You've got to start slowly, because it's still you, and until you start to maybe build a team who's going to help you, that's going to take time. That curves is that curve growth curve is going to start slow to start with and just build over time. But that's the point. Time is It's interesting. The thing from Jeff Olson said that time is your greatest ally in a lot of things, because it's over time that the compound effect builds. It's not in the first week or the first month. It's over continually doing that thing week in, week out. And all of a sudden that curve, that growth curve, starts to steepen quite sharply after maybe say 3 or 4 months of doing the same thing, where you think you haven't seen any results, but they've always been there, they're bubbling under. Because a lot of those results are the whole change in your head, you're changing the mindset. You start doing something, and like you say, it's difficult to start with. I mean, my brother, last year he started swimming. He used to love swimming and never really did much of it, and he just started swimming. And he was always quite a strong swimmer, and he went down his local pool. He lives in Bath, in southwest England. Um, and he went to his local pool, and I think he did about 5 or 10 lengths, and he started off, and he did it every day, and he did it every day, and he carried on. He still swims now. He swims that ridiculous amount of lengths. He just carries on swimming, but he can do it, and it's just such a habit now that there's no question he won't go down to the pool and do it for his own health reasons, because he's older than me. But he started off, and I'm sure that in the first couple of days, and I remember talking to him the first couple of days, he did his 10 lengths, and I think he really started to feel it after about day 3 or 4, and that's when a lot of people give up. And
Mhm.
he just thought, well, it's only 10 lengths, so I'll just carry on doing 10. That's all he did to start with. Didn't try and go 10, 11, 15, 20, 25. Just do 10. Just do 10. For the first 3 months of it, you just did 10.
Yeah, it's so interesting. There's a book actually, Seth Godin. There's a book called The Dip, and
Okay.
it's only a real kind of short book, but it talks about how people like it's talking about business actually, but it ties into like I think the new year. It works perfectly because it says in business people will start off all motivated,
Yeah.
and then then the grind comes in, and
Yeah.
it's like it's the work of getting the customer, and then fulfilling on that service, and chasing the next customer and all this kind of stuff, and it's like you get into a dip where you're just like, okay, look, can I get past this dip? Is it worth getting past this dip? And then it says like, obviously if it's worth getting past that dip and you push on through the dip, that's when you get into that curve that
Yeah.
just comes straight back up. You get that kind of hockey stick,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of curve that you're talking about there. But it's like that dip is where people give up. So
Mm.
it's like, everyone gives up in that dip. And it's exactly the same thing, like you said, is that swimming part, after 4 days is really hard, so people give up and then they don't do it again. So they
Yeah.
never get the upside. But by
Yeah.
doing it again, it's like it becomes a habit. The knock-on effect there on health-wise and all this kind of stuff is great, right? And it's
Yeah.
like in business, it's like, okay, if we can actually do the stuff. And this comes back to, I think marketing is a great part to this, because a lot of businesses, they will just, okay, the new year, I'm going to start marketing. And then, after 4 days, they might, think, okay, I don't know what content to put out now. And I'll
Yeah.
stop, and something else is, has become really busy and stuff like that. So I just won't do it. And it's like, yeah, okay, but if you just continue doing it, you're going to see the big payoff in 3 months' time, in 6 months' time, in a year's time. You're going to be reaping these rewards all the time. But you
Yeah.
have to start putting in the time. You have to make that investment right now.
Yeah. And I think that comes back to this whole thing on the goal setting we talk about. You got to understand why you're doing it.
Mm,
So if you say, I'm just doing some marketing because I want to grow my business. That doesn't mean anything. But if you're saying, well, I'm going to start this marketing now because this year I've started off, my bills are increasing because we all know that many businesses, the bills are increasing. And you start to think, right, okay, I now need to start doing something to be able to keep that kind of status quo that I was on before. Um, and but the reason why is that good enough, or do you want more, or do you want, maybe you want an extra holiday this year, or maybe you want to do something, you want to go paragliding, so I don't know, you've got something that you want to do, so the why becomes really, really strong. So when you get to the stage and you're in the dip, and I haven't read the book, but I'm sure he talks about this. But when you're in the dip, it's when you can go back and say, "What the hell am I doing this for?"
Mm.
And then you look back to your why and think, right, that's why. So my brother, health problems. He had Parkinson's. He's got Parkinson's, and he was trying to get over it. So he's yeah. What the hell am I doing this for? Right. Okay. I understand why I'm doing it because it's health, and health is massively important to a lot of people. But in business, again, we've just been talking about a particular business that we know, whereas there isn't a status quo. This is the whole thing we talk constantly about it. So this business carries on profitable, but the profitability they had last year is being eaten away by the costs and the stuff that's going up. And I don't know about around the world, but in the UK, UK, the costs of running stuff and energy and all the rest of it have gone massively through the roof. So the profit margin that you made last year, or the turnover you made and the profit margin last, is just not going to be the same this year.
Yeah.
And already, even if the business doesn't seem to be doing any worse, it is. You're on that downward slope because the costs are going up. So you've got to be. This is the classic case where we talk about growth. Businesses who say, "Oh, but I don't need to grow." We do. You all need to grow because every year inflation rises, costs go up, things they never come down, and all that profit is being eaten away. And if you're not growing your business, you are even though your business seems okay, you're on that slope already of dropping down. So understanding why is absolutely crucial. And really, that why, again, the business, it's easy for personal reasons, but in business, that why of understanding why I want to grow my business. Well, because I want to still be here next year, or I want this extra hobby, or I want this. So the why is I'm doing this because it's going to help this, which is going to help this, which is going to help this, which is going to help me get that thing I want.
Yeah, that's massive, isn't it? Because I'm even thinking then when you're talking, and I love that bit of, yeah, look, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards. You're either moving up or down. It is that thing. I think that's something that I really, I really took from you over the years, is that it's like, yeah, okay, you can't just be standing still.
No,
and as much as, I was thinking then that kind of dip, and I'm thinking with these kind of energy costs and stuff like that, is okay, is there a part to it where you can ride the storm? And it's like riding the storm is only just a case of riding the storm if there's a bigger picture that you're working towards at the end or something, just to get through that dip. That dip could be a longer period, but given some context as well, like you're saying, like with that business we're talking about is, put some numbers on it, about 500,000 turnover a year, all of a sudden I've realized that this year they're going to be spending out an extra 50k a year in costs. And it's like, well, look, that 50k now has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And again, we talked about this in lots of podcast episodes where we look about people being individuals where costs are going up and they look at where they can save. And with a business is that they look at, okay, where can we save, rather than, okay, what do we need to spend?
Yeah.
Make sure that we make more than 50k this year. And I think that's the massive part that I think sometimes it's a mindset issue. Or it's a changing of the times where people need to look at, okay, where is this investment that we need to make? Is it in myself? Is it in our people? Is it in our infrastructure? Is it in our marketing? Whatever it is, to make sure that we earn more money next year, or this year. Now I keep saying next year, but it's this year.
It's this year, yeah. And we were talking about return on investment, weren't we? And this whole thing about, well, I want to get return on investment, and a lot of people just use this and truck out this little phrase, return on investment. But you've got to invest first if you want any kind of return. So you've got to be investing in time, you've got to be investing or money or people, whatever. But you've got to, it's going to, in some cases, where you suddenly see your profits declining, or the turnover, or the turnover may not be declining, but the cost going up. Sometimes it's painful. You think, oh, I've got to invest this money, um, and I don't really want to. But we know that if you just decide that you're not going to invest anything and hold on to it, it's just going to be taken. It's going to be eaten away. It'll be eaten away by this or that. If you're not investing to grow, that money you have, that reserve you have, is just going to disappear, and you'll wonder in 3 months' time, where's it all gone? You won't know where it's gone, but believe me, it will go, because I've been in that situation. I'm sure many people have. So holding on to it and thinking that, oh, I'll just keep my bundle here, I'm sure it'll be fine, doesn't work. So even if it's just even if the 50K rising costs, it could mean that there's going to be several customers that you did have who also have rising costs, and they won't invest as much in your products or your services. So you've got to be thinking about, what can I invest to help? What if I can invest this amount of money and get a return, great, and you need to invest that thing in the first place. So what can I afford? Well, it's what can I not afford to invest, almost, to grow my business? Because without any kind of investment in people or time, or help from other things, other circumstances of new systems or whatever, you're going to stay the same, and you'll come to the end of 2023, and actually you won't have stayed the same. You'll be down, as I say, we'll be down on that curve.
And that's big, isn't it? Because I think even with that, and I don't know all the numbers within, that business that I was just talking about, but just say, for instance, maybe their profit is, maybe their profit is 60K out of the 500,000, right? So they make 60K profit, and then they go, okay, we can reinvest this and all this kind of stuff. But all of a sudden that's gone. They've only got 10K profit. All the staff have been paid. Maybe the directors have made their money and everything like that. But there's no money then to reinvest. So actually, when you go into 2024, you're at more of a disadvantage now, because maybe you can't do the same things that you were planning to do, and the costs are going to go up again. So now it starts eating into, okay, we need to save it and stuff like that. So again, it's making those changes now. And when you were talking there, it made me think of, there's that term, the way people kind of position it is, they say, like, when times get tough and stuff like that, marketing is one of the first things to get cut, when it should be the last, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, in theory, 100%, right? That's what happens when it shouldn't happen. Marketing should be the last thing that gets cut. However, I think that phrase gets played a lot, by the agencies and all the marketing people and stuff like that, right? So for me, like, marketing shouldn't be cut. I actually think that's rubbish. I feel like the way it should be kind of looked at is just going, look, if your marketing is working, then it should be the last thing that gets cut. But if your marketing isn't working, then it needs to be changed straight away.
Yeah, that's right. You're throwing good money out.
There's no point in keeping marketing if it's not working anyway.
Yeah, right. No, that's right. And I think that's that. Yeah, and there is that huge thing, is you can't just throwing more money at a problem isn't going to make that problem go away. You got to throw that money at that wisely, at that problem, and think about why the problem's there in the first place, and what is it that is not working. So it's like constantly review, isn't it? A marketing needs to review all the time, and this is again, the whole thing is comes back into, and this is part of the same thing as well. So if you want to change how you are, or you want to change your business, you need to be measuring how it's good. So you need to have a set of measures. So I want to change my business by, I don't know, I want to increase my turnover by a third, for example. Okay, that's a measurement. You've got that in place. And then it's the how. So how are you going to change it by a third? Well, my existing marketing isn't going to do it. So there's a review. You've got to review those. The measurement is telling you that something's not working. So you've got to tweak it. And if that means investing in someone to help you get it right and tweak it, that's money well spent. But just chucking more money at marketing that isn't working is actually money really badly spent. So there is that thing that you've got to invest in the right things for it to grow as well.
I lose count of the conversations I've had over the years, and even going back to this time last year, speaking with people that I know in business and decent businesses and stuff like that as well. I can remember one guy, he said, we're working with an SEO company. We're paying them £500 a month or something like that, I think it was. We upgraded about 6 months ago from the package that was £250 a month. So we now pay 500, and they're saying now that we should upgrade to that package, which is like £1,200 a month, right? I'm like, okay, what's the reason? He said, well,
Yeah.
we're not really getting a return, on what we're spending out on with this SEO company. So when we were at 250 and we said, look, we're not getting a return, they said, oh, it's because you need to move to this package at 500, right? So then they said, okay, that's what we do. And then when they said, look, we're not getting a return now after 6 months, we're paying 500, they said, oh, it's because you need to move to this package. I'm like, start asking them where you are gonna get a return, because does that mean in 6 months' time you need to move to the
Yeah.
2,500 package? Like what's going on? But
Yeah.
sometimes people would just take it as, okay, that's what we need to do. When really is we need to have our own measures in place where we can see if something is working for us. Because I think for me, that is the most dangerous place for any business to be in, is where they're just trusting the outsourcers in different areas. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, those outsourcers can be really good at what they do, but you're giving the keys to the castle to them,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're saying to them, okay, look, can you tell me how this will work for me? Rather than it being, this is what we need to help our business move from this point to this point. So we're
Yeah.
going to employ you to do this part here, because by doing this part here, we are going to see this part actually increase.
Yeah. And that's crucial as well. You understand the reason why you want to do something. So whether it be health, personal, business, or whatever, yeah, you got to have a really strong why when you set your goals. But it's also, if you set your goal, whether it's just going to be you or someone else, how is this going to work? So if I invest my time in a new product for self development, what what am I expecting? How is it going to change things? How's it going to make me improve? And when will I see that improvement? And sometimes those are difficult questions to answer, but certainly in business, it's similar. Say, if I'm going to invest this money in this service, what am I going to get for it? When is it likely I'm going to see improvement? Now, how is it going to work? How, what do I need to be aware of? Because as you say, you're handing over the keys to your castle. So you're not actually going to be doing, you're going to, but you need to be aware of what's going on. And how are you going to make this, how are you going to make this happen so that it produces the results I want? Because ultimately I have this goal to increase my turnover by a third. And I want to know how you're going to do it. So you really need to understand that in depth before you start handing out, like you say, before you upgrade to this 500 package. And it's so easy to say, isn't it? Oh, well, if you spend more money on this SEO product, then we can do this and we can do that. Well, why is that different from what you're doing now? And how, by doing this, is it going to give me, first of all, is it going to give me a return? And then is it going to give me an increase on my return on investment? Because you're investing your money into that.
And the way it should work really is like with that. And don't get me wrong. I mean, these numbers are, not saying SEO, but just in regards to your kind of return on investment, is that, yeah, okay, look, if I pay £500 out for the year, so I've paid £6,000, should I look to be getting 20K back? Yeah.
Mm.
Does that mean that, for every £500 that I spend, I'm getting that return? Nah, because it's going to compound, like you said, it's going to come over time, to get to it. But then it should mean that when you upgrade and you move from 500 to 1200, well, actually your return now moves into 15 grand or whatever it is, and stuff like that. So you start getting to that point where you are making decent profits each month, or when you're looking at throughout the year and stuff like that, then it does add into it. But there is that a bit of a gap at the start, right?
Of course.
And I think this is a big mindset issue. We spoke about this before. We spoke about this privately as well. Is that there's a lot of people who they're a bit reluctant to make a jump, because they're focused on who they are and where they are right now, rather than who they are and where they want to be. The person that they want to be and where they want to be their business.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, I was talking to somebody, a business the other day, and it was about team building. They wanted to grow. They were thinking about how much they could grow their business, and I said, and they were, I think they were looking to triple their turnover. They said, "Well, we really like to triple your turnover." And there was two of them, And I said, well, yeah, what do you do at the moment? And what do you make at the moment? And how does this work? And they showed me all the things they do. This site, there's products and services as well. And they're pretty well, they've got about 20% capacity left of their own working. So I said, well, so how are you going to, so tripling your turnover means you're going to have to get, you have to get people in, aren't you? You're going to have to build a team. Well, I don't know. There's cost involved in getting a team, and how there's the time it takes to get the team, the time it takes um, to get the team working together, to get the brief, the time it takes then to see results from the team. I said, yeah, you're not going to see any results in 4 or 5 months, but you're not going to do it without a team because you've only got 20% capacity, so you're not going to triple it. So you decide that you either want to triple your turnover, so you either reduce your goal, which I never recommend, um, or you say, right, I keep my goal, but this is what I need to do. So I need to. So I go back to your thing about changing the way they are. They needed to change their thinking. Instead of them being the technicians, they are now going to manage a team. Totally different frame of mind, totally different way of thinking, and they've got to make sure that their team are happy to work for them because it's not just managing a team and say, right, I want you to do this, 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 and this, and off they go and do it. Oh, that won't work.
That is the thing, isn't it? It was really interesting though, when you're talking about team and stuff like that. Now, obviously, now I do some stuff in the kind of sports world and stuff like that, and it's interesting to see that if you take football clubs,
Oh, yeah.
they have their first team, they have a B team, right, and maybe a C team if they're big enough and stuff like that as well. They also then have like an under 23s, they have an under 18s, they have an under 16s, and they have their youth system.
Yeah.
And like all this is built up so that if they get kind of, one or two good players that come through, it's worth it.
Mm.
Right. And it's the same thing, isn't it? With, like you say, if you're bringing in people, if you're bringing in marketing services, if you're upskilling yourself, it's that what you're looking for is for that to return that investment in a certain part. It doesn't mean that everything is going to come. So like
No.
with those kind of football teams, it's not that every single player is going to be an elite player and make it into the first squad, and stuff like that. But people will move up through the rankings and, get to the point. You only need the kind of one or two things to pay off to really make it worthwhile. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing as I think marketing in general, mate. I guess just business growth is. I think a lot of people kind of they put a lot of emphasis on any kind of channel returning an investment right away. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
that's the kind of issue there is that they kind of just go, okay, if we chuck some money at this, do we get our money back at the end of the month? That's rarely a case in anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Because so again, it's the compound interest of the whole idea of the compound curve, isn't it? It takes time. Initially, you won't see any change. You'll think that you won't see there's hardly any output change at all. But what you're not focusing on is the output. You're focusing on the actual stuff working, the stuff that's going on. So that your focus has got to be on your doing. You've worked out that if you do this long enough and the right things are going on, you will get to this return. Okay. So then you say, but that may be, let's say that may be 60 days, 90 days away. Okay. So, and you accept that. You've got to accept that whatever time you say, you can't accelerate that, or very difficult to accelerate that. So it's going to be 90 days away. So, right, day one, day two, day three, you won't see any change at all. Day 14, day 15. If you throw your arms up in the air and say, "Oh, this is working," well, of course it's not, because you know that it's 90 days you're gonna see any kind of return. Day 15, you've only just got stuff going, but it is working because you're making it work. Your team or whatever you're using, it is working in the background. It's slowly gaining momentum. It's like pushing a great big flywheel, isn't it? If you start off, it's really, really hard work. But eventually, as you start to push that huge flywheel, you'll start to get a momentum going. And the momentum, like we talked about, the momentum, it just keeps starting to turn. As you get that momentum going, on day 30, you start to see a little tiny difference, maybe, but it's still only going to be tiny, because it isn't until about day 70 that you really start to see something climb up to what you want to have in day 90. But all that time underneath is you just going through the motions of making it work, because because it takes that much time to get, it takes that much time to gain your momentum. There's a brilliant quote from Jeff Olson. I know I quote Jeff Olson all the time, The Slight Edge, because I love his book. But he's got a thing there called Master the Mundane, and and basically the thing is, it's going to be mundane for months, but if you master the mundane and do it every day for months, all of a sudden the results are spectacular when you get to month 6. He's got this whole idea of the compound penny. Your 1 penny, you double your penny on the next day. It's only worth 2 pence. It's worth nothing. But you hit the end of 31 days and it's worth, well, multiple millions.
That is, I mean, that part there, I mean, that just looking at the compound effect in that way, of the penny, the compounding penny, that is crazy. It is that way. And if anyone listening, you haven't come across this, like just Google it or something like that. But before you do, right, just ask yourself, okay, if you've got a penny on day 1 and it compounds every day, how much do you have at the end of the month? And you'll be like, you'll be knocked, knocked out by the actual amount that you would have. Is insane,
Yeah.
And it's just like, but yeah, that stuff there, man, I think is definitely the way forward. I was reading, but I was listening to the audio book of that Stephen Bartlett, the crazy sexy millionaire, whatever it's called, I can't remember now. But there's a part in that book actually where he says that when he was younger, he went to the dentist, and he said he had really good teeth and stuff like that, and he just kind of just stopped brushing his teeth. And the dentist said to him, look, you need to continue brushing your teeth. And he's just like, why? My teeth are fine. And he's like, if you don't brush your teeth today, nothing will happen.
Yeah.
If you don't brush your teeth tomorrow, nothing will happen. But if you don't brush your teeth for a month, in a year's time, you won't have any teeth. Yeah. And it is like, it's that kind of thing that I think sometimes we don't see the bigger picture like that.
No.
We don't see that, okay, yeah, that, one pizza won't hurt, but if you eat pizza every day, then it's going to add up to something. The same with drinking and stuff like that. But we don't look at, I think, the other way in business where we don't go, okay, like you said, that mundane, okay, it's tough to post on social media or turn up on social media each day. It's tough to actually phone that, cold call a person or cold message a person, all this kind of stuff. It's hard, but we need to get through that for it to bear the fruits that we want to happen. And it comes back again that person that you want to be, start being them today. What would your thinking be like in a year's time if you did? Just say that 30K to 300K.
Yeah.
If next year you're starting the year and you're at a 300K business, what's your thinking like?
Yeah.
Move that thinking to today.
Yeah. That's the thing, isn't it? You got to start thinking that way. And this is difficult for people to get their head around. And this is why I keep tweeting the mindset. The mindset is, if you want to go from 30K now, imagine what it's going to be like when you actually open up your accounts or your bookkeeping system, whatever. You say, right, we've done 300K turnover. Imagine the feeling you're going to take. We've really managed it. We've made it happen. Michael, what a fantastic. We've had a great ride. We've had some great holiday, great times. So then you just take that, how you take the time to imagine how it feels, take 10 minutes, and then take it and add it to today. That is how I'm going to feel like. And all of a sudden, and it all becomes very theoretical. And people say, that doesn't work. But it does. If you wake up every day and think, I am going to feel brilliant. I'm feeling brilliant today because I know this is what I'm going to achieve. Everything changes. Your whole outlook on the day changes. Everything you do changes. When you go into LinkedIn or Facebook and you think, here we go, comment on a few posts or whatever you do, the marketing you do, you're going to do it with a different heart and a different mind than if you just think, oh God, I've got to go on to bloody LinkedIn today and I've got to phone this person, I've got to phone that person. And instead you'll be thinking, I'm phoning this person because I know by doing it, I'm just ticking off another box, and it's going to get me to this feeling that I know I'm going to have at the end of the year. And so it's really important to have that. This is where the mindset comes in, to have that mindset and know what that mindset looks like, and then be able to sort of, if you like, paste it onto your mindset of today.
And I think as well, we did the last episode and we said, look, your goals are for you. Like that I think that's the big thing there. You get to decide. And I think we've checked out some numbers in this episode where there may be some people listening, they may think, 500K, like, forget that, we make 6 million. We make X amount, you know. So there'll be the other people as well who, you know, maybe they're just battling through and they're making 6K a year or something like that in a minute, you know, and they want to get to 30K, or maybe they're at 30K and they just want to get to 50, you know, because that 50 actually makes a massive change to them, you know.
Yeah,
Again, that thinking, look, the person that you want to become, it's like, look, I want to be the person that, you know, I'm not going to worry when the car goes in for an MOT.
yeah,
When the car goes in for that check each year, I'm not worried that, okay, if something is wrong, where's the money coming from?
yeah,
Because you
yeah,
know, now I'm a different person, and it's like, okay, look, the person I am, you know, the person I will be then and the person today, like, I don't worry about those little extra bits because I know it's coming, you know,
yeah.
and it's coming because the efforts I'm going to put in by doing this.
And there's a huge thing in the self development world. It takes a while to get your head around it. But it's you are now where your thinking was all through the year.
Yeah,
So you're the culmination now, whatever that is, of how you were thinking back a year ago. But now you're changing. Your thinking has already changed. So in the future, you're not going to be the person you are now. So if you think, oh, you know, I don't know where I, as you said, a classic one, you know, I've got a car, bought myself a car, and you know, the MOT's coming up, and I know I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a problem with this and this, and where's the money coming from? If you're still thinking that way, that's how you'll still be in the same situation that you are, um, you know, in several months' time. But if you accept that that's how you used to think, you think, no, okay, the money will come. I will find a way. I'm not sure where it's going to be yet, but let's cross that. You know, I don't know it's going to fail yet. That's going to put it through the MOT. That may be sort of a couple of weeks ahead, keep a couple of weeks away for the MOT. Yeah, you might have this thing. I know it's going to fail. Oh, I'm not sure if I can afford this. There's 2 weeks to go. What can you do now to think, right, okay, how can I make sure that doesn't happen? So that when it comes to it and some, yeah, we're afraid it failed on this, and you say, okay, can I get this, whatever it is, get it done? And then it comes out the garage and it's MOT for another year. I know we're talking about a very small thing here, but the feeling is, wow, I got the money, I did it. And that money could be, you might find it's quite easily found or easily, it could even be borrowed from a family friend or whatever. But the same thing in business. If you've got your business to turn over, whatever it is, 6 million, 500K, 10K. Your thinking has got you there, but it's your past thinking. If you want to go from 6 million to 12 million, double your turnover, you have to change your thinking. You have to be changing your thinking. If you want to go from 10K turnover to 100K possible in a year, you have to change your thinking, because if you don't change your thinking and you keep on to the old thought process you had, it won't happen. Believe me, it really, really won't happen. So the mindset for me, mindset is so huge, because to get to the next step, whatever the next step is, you have to tweak the way you're thinking, because it's your previous thought process that's got you to where you are now. Because if it wasn't, you'd already be there. And that's the thing.
It's massive, isn't it? And I
Yeah,
know we did this on, you know, going back probably a year ago, but we probably did
yeah,
this on a podcast then, and we are talking about that. And it is like, you take kind of 90 days, 180 days, you know, 360 days, whatever it is. You go back to the summer, right? Whatever you've done from the summer has got you to this point.
yeah,
So if it's and we'll look at the negative points, right? So if you're feeling like, okay, you need to go on a diet now and everything, and you're not fit and all this kind of stuff, it's probably because you did no training, no fitness, or look at your diet for the past 6 months. You know,
mm,
if you're in business right now and you're going, I don't know where the next customer is coming from, it's probably because you've done no marketing over the past 6 months.
yeah, yeah,
No, you haven't put those pipelines in place. And okay, the positive side is that, okay, yeah, look, if you're in great shape now, it's because, you know, the summer body is built in winter, you know, and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
that thing. And if you know, your business is, you know, you've got people phoning you all the time and stuff like this, asking you, you know, to help them, then you've probably done a good job in marketing yourself and, you know, fulfilling that those services. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, where you want to be in the summer, start now. You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And that was the thing when we talk about this company, which has kind of got woken up, if you like, in January, and thought, God, my costs have increased dramatically. I'm going to have a real problem. My answer is, well, they should never have been there in the first place, because when times are good, So yeah, I think it was Jim Rohn said that the seasons we go through in life are the same seasons you get in business. You get a spring, you get a summer, you get a harvest, or fall as they call it, and you get a winter. Every business goes through a winter, and a lot of businesses now are going through a winter of 2023 cost rising. It's their winter of discontent, if you like, But what they should have been doing in the summer when things were rolling well, think, right, they were having a good summer, right? Profit turnover was up, people were up. What do I need to be putting in place now to make sure that when the winter comes, I've cracked it? There's not an issue. Yep, things might take a bit of a dent, and it might take a tiny bit of a battering, but I'm resilient. All this, I know there's a lot of talk in COVID about building resilience and building robust business and all the rest of it. But those are kind of throwaway words. But what it basically means that when your things are going well for you, that's the time to put in extra marketing. That's the time to really say, okay, I need to invest even more so that in the winter, so I don't get a winter. So the winter doesn't affect me. To me, maybe I only get an autumn and then I go into spring and I don't actually have that real dramatic winter where everything hits. Now, I know the pandemic was a winter for virtually everybody to start with, because no one could even foresee that. But once you've foreseen it, expect it to happen again. So expect that the worst could happen. You think, right, everything's shut down, everything's stopped. Could that happen again? Well, of course it could. It's happened once now. A precedent has been set. So yeah, it could happen more than once in a year. Who knows?
It was really interesting. We were talking about this actually. You've kind of come onto this by accident, but we were kind of talking about this in a different way, where we said about, yeah, okay, so many businesses struggled, but like you got like an 80-20, right? Of course, 80% struggled throughout the past 2 years, but there were some that flourished.
Yeah, they did.
And they've actually found themselves now beginning their winter in a way where actually it was good for them. They were boosted, you know, throughout that whole kind of pandemic. That it's got to a point now that that gravy train has stopped, and they've gone, we need to make some more money now, because because of what went on, we were running away with things, but now that's stopped. So we didn't do anything back then, to make sure that when it stopped, we had something going on. We just kind of took that, we just kind of rode that gravy train until it stopped. And now we're looking at, okay, what can we do now? And like you said, mate, that again, I think over Christmas I was listening to something and those seasons came up, like you said, the whole kind of Jim Rohn thing. And he just said, you can't plant seeds in winter.
No, exactly.
It's like that's the thing. Like if you look at it, you look at the whole kind of farming thing and everything like that, it's like you can't plant the seeds in winter. And what makes it, when you think about it in business, is that if you're kind of looking at, okay, where's the customer coming from today? It's tough to do that, to get the customer in today. We need to look at, okay, look, we're doing this stuff now to get the customer next month, maybe the month after, but it's also a case of that winter could be a member of staff leaves. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, this is really tough now. We can't actually take on more people, more clients, because we're struggling to fulfill what we have to do now. Someone's left, and it's making sure those kind of things are protected as well. Like you said as well, is like doing the things that need to be done in the best times. A company I was talking with back towards the end of the summer, and they were basically having a chat, and they just said everything's going really well. Like we don't need to look at marketing, we don't need to look at this, we don't need to look at that.
Fatal.
But it was that, and I think I said, okay, 5 minutes, let's run through this, right? And we ran through kind of eliminating risk and all this kind of stuff. Like they're spending over 100K this year, putting systems in place now, that are going to help them kind of get through, not just get through any kind of dip, but actually get them to the next level. So, we're looking at, okay, how do you, again, double turnover, triple turnover? It comes from putting the right kind of systems in place with your marketing, with your people, all this kind of stuff that you can actually then build on top of it. But you've got the right infrastructure in place. And it's like, okay, things are going well until they don't.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point, isn't it? And until they don't, and no one knows when that comes. Well, sometimes it can be predicted. But again, going back to the pandemic, it was bang. It just hit everybody. And all of a sudden there was the following day, everyone was thinking, well, what's happened? And now those kind of things can happen again. We know about global warming. We know about the the issues we're getting with floods and droughts and everything, the amount of businesses that I think it was in, I can't remember what month, it was not long ago. There were about three or four hundred businesses in certain parts of, I think it was, well, certainly I know in Italy, but in the UK were flooded out. I lost everything. I mean, the building wasn't just underwater at ground level; it swamped the building. There, the roof of the building was flooded. They have no business. Their business was in there, and it's gone. Those kind of things are just they're horrendous. They're horrific to even think about. But we do need to think about them because yeah, everything is changing quite dramatically, and yeah, we have no idea what the future is going to be bringing. So the best thing we can do is that if we're having a good summer, if you like, where we have a good harvest or if whatever, they've got a lot of business coming, start putting money aside, start putting resources aside. And think, right, okay, I need to store this because there's nothing wrong with having financial. In fact, look at both. Big companies got financial reserves. Even as a single person, you can start building up financial reserves in different bank accounts or whatever to think that I know inflation is high and all the rest of it, but you start building up financial reserves. So this is for a rainy day. I mean, a great old the old thing, save money for a rainy day. But it's so true because when rainy days come and you don't have it, you're stuck. You really are stuck. And so in business, it's the same. Build up your business reserves when you can, increase your marketing because you have the ability to invest more in marketing because it's marketing that generates growth. There is, if people don't think it's marketing, then they need to go to an asylum. Without marketing, you're never going to grow your business. So in whatever way that is, you've got to be marketing. So when you're having the good times, is the time to invest more in marketing. And putting money aside, putting things aside. So you build up the resources, you build up that kind of that stock for hibernation that when that winter comes and it hits you hard, you think, right, I've got reserves that I can live on. There's things I can do so that, and you know that the winter will end eventually. And when spring comes again, then you can start, your business opens up. But
no, definitely. I put a post out a couple of days ago actually that was it basically said learn marketing, right? And I put in this post as well. It's that over the past year or so, you see all the kind of the top gurus, right? You see people in the mindset space, you see people in the sales space, in the financial making money kind of space. They've all switched and said marketing is the most important thing.
Yeah,
work on marketing because it gives you so many options. And I put some examples in there as well. And I just said, look, if you're looking to make a couple of extra, £100 a month or something like that, like learn marketing skills because you're a value to people. You can do things for yourself. If you're in a business and you do more marketing and you increase your metrics, you're going to earn more money. You as a business owner, you don't need to know all the ins and outs. You don't need to know how to build a website, but you need to know how that website generates more income for you.
Exactly.
And stuff like that. And it's like what you were saying there as well, like with, there's a bit of a bleak outlook on this year, right? Because obviously there's all this kind of inflation, recession, and all this kind of stuff, right? But actually, think about a year ago, we were locked down. We couldn't even get outside.
Exactly.
It's like, don't use that as an excuse. I can already see people, going along the lines of, people don't have money to spend and all this kind of stuff. It's rubbish. People will spend on whatever they want, And it's like, you have that opportunity now. The doors are open. You can go and do whatever you want. I can remember when I was young, in my teens and I was at the boxing club, and I can remember the boxing coach there, and he just said, if you ever get in trouble, just go on offense. He said, because if you start swinging, people will move back. So if you're taking a beating, start swinging. It's that kind of thing. Is that a strong offense beats a good defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is so. Yeah, there's so many analogies of that when you look at sport, how various teams did in the World Cup, and how many football teams sat back on their heels and got beaten in the end. But if times if you can see that times you're getting a bit of a beating and times are tough, then that is the time to start being a more aggressive in how you do things. Not aggressive as in really uh, not so much aggressive, not aggressive in making, trying to bring people into your products or services, but actually just giving out more value. What more value can you give? How can I be aggressive in my output, if you like, to get more business in? And if you, I still think, I think that any time there's always cloud. It's a lot of people talk about cloud. Every cloud has a silver lining, and I still believe it does. People, there were some businesses that did massively well in the pandemic because it was a silver lining. They pivoted, they did whatever they needed to. They suddenly found a new niche, and you can still do that. It doesn't matter, interest rates. And talk about the UK. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I'm pretty sure it's very, very similar. We got energy bills rising. We got all this stuff. And there's all this stuff you can blame. There's all this stuff is just, you can sink into it if you're not careful. But instead of blaming the stuff around you, just become better yourself. How can I make my business more resilient? How can I make myself better? And instead of blaming everything around them, just say, okay, I can be better as a person. I can be looking positively. I can be looking optimistically. I can make the things happen. Because you do that, then the stuff around you, it falls into insignificance because you're then taking the steps to build a better lifestyle for yourself, more money, better turnover, whatever in your business. But if you start falling into the trap of thinking, oh God, that's it, it's all over. Well, like you said, we were locked down last year. And I remember years ago, I mean, interest rates and stuff like being 15% on mortgages and that kind of stuff. And everyone then said, "Oh, well, what's the world coming to?" You think, well, it doesn't. It just goes on in cycles.
When you were talking, I was smiling because I just thought to myself, "There's always been something."
Always, and there always will be. Every year there'll be something.
There always will be something,
Yeah.
and it gets to that point. It's just like, don't let something stop you. It's like just do it, whatever it is, your kind of self-development, your business development, like just go on and do it because no one's coming to save you, right? It's on you.
Exactly. And we were talking, weren't we, before Christmas about the whole affiliate marketing thing.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think people understand it properly. But people, there's new products and new services and new things happening all the time. All of them have an affiliate marketing element to them. All of them. If you, like you said, if you need an extra 50 quid cash per month, personally, then start looking, as you said, start to learn marketing, learn affiliate marketing. How can I make this work for me? Oh, it doesn't take much, and all of a sudden you can be making the few extra, few extra pounds or dollars or whatever, per month. You can actually start increasing on business. It's the same thing in businesses. Okay, and this is another one we were talking about, wasn't it? With the same company, they have a good customer base, so they're looking at the costs going up and thinking, well, we've got to do something. What more can you do for your customers, existing customers, so you don't have to start spending a massive amount and getting more in? But what more can you do for your existing customers that will give that they will pay for because it's great value, that will bring more revenue to you? Start with your existing base first.
Let's just be honest on that as well, and actually just go a little bit deeper. When we were talking, we were kind of going back and forth with some ideas. This is what we always say, don't we, about bouncing ideas around, the power of the mastermind and stuff like that. Like we went through a few ideas and we were like, do you know what? Instead of just trying to make 50K, we came up with a way for them to add 500K onto their business, right? This year, right? And it's like we were kind of talking there, and we went. I said something like, "Yeah, okay, it turns into £1 million business," and you were like, "Actually, it turns into a £5 million business because this continues." And you're like, "Yeah, it is." Like, and just from talking through, and going, "Okay, where are the avenues that this can increase?"
Yeah,
and it is that thing is that there's so many different things that people can do, and even to the point where when we first started talking about it, we didn't have those ideas.
No, we didn't.
It was only as we went through. So someone who's stuck in the box, someone who's stuck in the business, they're not going to see that.
No, exactly right. Yeah,
it gets into different levels where you go, actually, you could do this, you could add that onto it, and it's just like it is that power. And mate, you're talking about the affiliate stuff. I think you've made my mind up on that one. I'm going to do a little club or something like that relatively soon on just, teaching people how to make money online, because I think it is a skill that you can have to help you, through making money, not just now, but in the future as well. And it can help you, start a business and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to do something. I'm going to put it together to start this month in January. So it's holding myself accountable. I'm going to do some sort of club.
Yeah, because I know, individuals. I know lots of people around me who are every day going about talking about how their mortgage has gone up, how this has gone up, how that. And you think, so do something about it instead of whinging and because the problem is that, again, coming back to the mindset thing, as soon even when you start listening to those people, as soon as you start thinking that way, your thinking changes. Your thinking changes to the negative. And even though you think, oh, I don't really pay much attention, just the fact that they're there and they're talking, whispering into your ear, it does have an effect on you. So I try now not to, I just try and change the conversation when people talk about that. But but this whole thing is to say, so what is this? So what if it's happening? What can I do about it? And affiliate marketing is, to me, is a simple way to do something about it. It's just it's an easy tap to turn on, really. You might have to put a little bit of effort to initially, but it's an easy tap to turn on that suddenly you start making extra 500 quid a month, 500 to 100, 50 to 100 quid a month can make all the difference. If your energy bills go up even more, then maybe you can be making £200 a month. But the point is, there's more than one avenue. There's lots of different avenues for affiliate marketing. So turn on more taps. Do something about it.
That's exactly what it is. You turn on those taps, and that's it. I think what happens is, like, you can Google affiliate marketing, or you can see some people on Instagram, and all of a sudden it gets blown up to make £1 million in 12 days with affiliate marketing and all this kind of stuff, right? But it's like stripping it back. It's just like, look, if you just look at it on the face, all it is that, look, someone's got a product, you're going to basically drive traffic. You're going to drive interested people to go and buy that product. You don't need to own any products. You don't need to talk to anyone. You just drive people to it. You're going to earn money. And there's other things online that you can do in exactly the same way. There are little membership sites that you can set up. You don't even need to be the face of it. You could set up little websites that generate leads for other people, or you just get paid revenue through Google Ads and stuff like that. There's all this kind of stuff. Selling digital products as well. You can buy products to sell, or in the kind of digital world and stuff like that, you can make them quite easily to sell as well. So I'm gonna start a little club, showing people how to do
Good
this.
idea.
Cash Creation Club. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Oh, we'll call it, Cash Creation. Yeah.
Cash Creation Club. I'm gonna start this up, and then just basically share some stuff on people, making money online, and do a kind of step by step to help them get started and start earning some income online. So let's get that in place. I think it's a good part to end this episode.
Good place to end, yeah.
And then we'll look to.
I like it. The 3 C's, cash creation.
The 3 C's, yeah. This is it. I love it as well, mate. Let's do it. So let's get that in place, and then mate, we'll catch up next week. We'll do it all again.
We will. Yeah.
But I guess, mate, we'll just wrap it all up, and say it's always been a pleasure, and I shall catch you next time.
Yep. Okay. Cheers. Cheers, Jamie.
See you then.
And cheers, everybody.
That's it.